Hello, hello, it's Julie Davison from juliedavison.com. Welcome to Sunday Stamping with Susan and Julie Part 1. It is Sunday, May 19th, and Mom and I have some exciting projects to share with you using a brand new suite from the annual catalog. Oh my gosh, we've been having so much fun playing with all the new products, and I can't wait to hear what your favorites are from this catalog so we can share them in the coming weeks. If you haven't already placed an order, or if you have already and are ready to order more, Stampin Up has just announced there will be free shipping on orders over $75 this Tuesday, May 21st, in just a couple days. So get your wish list ready or buddy up with a friend so you can take advantage of this amazing free shipping offer. I think after you see our videos this week, you're gonna have a few things to add to your wish list. Let's turn the camera around to my desktop and get started. Okay, we are back in the May 2024 to April 2025 annual catalog that just came out a couple weeks ago. I'm so excited about this. Now, here in the middle, or I guess the middle of the front, we've got a section that's called Creativity Your Way, and this is where you're going to find all the suites that have designer paper, and all the colors for the designer paper are shown down here underneath the project photos. I love how they make all the projects coordinate. So today we are going to be sharing projects using the Take to the Sky suite. I love this one because it is great for masculine cards. Of course, you can make plain cards for anyone. In fact, I think I mentioned this in another video that one of Claire's friends is currently training and studying to be a pilot. So that is super exciting. I know she would absolutely love to have a card created with this suite. Let me show you the suite components. First of all, check out these amazing projects. I really am always just so inspired by the concept artists and what they create. We've got this awesome designer paper, and I had to show you 12 by 12 designer paper today because this page in particular has lots of different little vignettes. Different size, 4 by 6, 3 by 4. We also have these 2 by 4 tags down here, which I think are just so much fun that you can cut out and use. So lots of different options, really, really fun. And then of course, we've got our regular full page designs that have double-sided patterns here. So the colors in this suite are Copper Clay, Mossy Meadow, Boho Blue, Night of Navy, and Smoky Slate. And so there's just really great masculine patterns that you could use with any stamp set, not just for the plains. I love, love that Copper Clay. Let me show you some project ideas first. Before I do that, let me show you the stamp set. I feel like I'm so scattered. The Adventurous Sky stamp set is a fun line art image, and I really love images like this because I feel like you can, I don't know, be like a little sloppy with your coloring. It doesn't have to be exactly perfect because the lines aren't clean. So I'm going to actually be using colored pencils to color my image today. That's not something that I normally do, but I think that the sketch art really lends itself well to pencils. So we've got some images of planes, 3 different sizes, and then also some clouds, an aerial view, and then a lot of really great sentiments that go well with the airplanes. Like, you always lift me up, flying by to say hi, and maybe my favorite, you're the best, plain and simple. You know I love a good pun. Speaking of puns, I'm flying solo today. Mom and I just couldn't work out our schedule to film together. So it's just me. Mom will be in the chat, and I can't wait for her to see the card that I've created. Going along with the Adventurous Sky stamp set, we have the Adventurous Sky dies. We have some detail dies that cut out planes. There's also this little banner and this piece that would hook up to the banner. So if you wanted your airplane to be flying a banner across the sky, you could combine those 2 dies to create that. And then of course some dies that die cut the stamped images. The embellishments here are industrial trinkets, and I'm a little bit scared of these because they are so big and heavy. We do have 2 sides here though. We've got like a riveted, that's not what I wanted to say. I mean, I guess sort of a a faceted side, and then a flat side that has a little starburst. So you can use either one of them, but no matter which way you put it, it is a very bulky embellishment. And I think if you're mailing cards, it's definitely going to be a non-machinable if you're using one of these industrial trinkets. All right, I've got a fun fold card. Oh, I was going to do samples. See, I told you I'm just so scattered today. So these guys create a fun detailed die cut plane, and Michelle Grimble used them on her card here. A fun little off-center gatefold or a little matchbook card here that she sent for our team 1-for-1 swap. I also got this one from Shar Cooper. I think both these cards were inspired by Marissa Alvarez, kitchen table stamper, who demonstrated at On Stage using this suite. And I have to tell you, it was Marissa's, it was her demonstration that inspired me. I was only going to get the stamp set, and after seeing her demonstration, I went ahead and bought the dies too. I love using the cloud die cut to stamp the sentiment. And here's one of those tags from the larger piece that I was showing you. Here's a couple other samples. This one from Angie Leach, and this is one that I created. So many great combinations here. Angie used a little bit of the basic beige. Even though it's not in the designer paper, it does pair well. I used a little of the watercolor here. The color in the paper is smoky slate, and I think you see a little, I think that's actually gray granite. So many different neutrals. They really go together with so many great things. But let's jump in and let's make a card. I've got a fun fold card to share with you today. This is one that I haven't made in a couple years, but the first time I made it was probably like 10 years ago. And I just love pulling back to some of my past favorite projects and bringing them back again. So this is the Peekaboo flip card, and I have been thinking about this card with the airplanes, and I just couldn't get it out of my head, so I had to just sit down and make it, and I love the way it turned out. So we've got two pieces for our card base. It's 4 1/4 by 8 inches, scored at 5 1/2, and then the second piece is 4 1/4 by 5 3/4, scored at 5 1/2. So we have just a little 1/4 inch strip here. Just enough for some adhesive. I was playing around with trying to make that bigger, and I feel like it just kind of interferes with the mechanism. You'll see in just a second. So we've got this piece then as well. This is a basic white cardstock, 4 1/4 by 8 1/2 inches, scored at 4 1/4. So the first thing we want to do is we want to create the window for our card. So I'm going to take that larger boho blue card base. I'll have the measurements for you in the video description. I'm going to fold it over like this, and this is actually going to be the inside of the card. And so I'm holding it upside down just because it's easier to punch this way, but you'll see when I flip it back over. So I'm going to put the punch in from the bottom all the way, and I want to come just a little bit off of the edge, just a little bit of a lip there, like 1/8 of an inch or so, and give it a punch. Now, it should not be punching that flap. I just folded the flap over for guide. So I'm going to turn this over like this, and you can see it's going to be the top of the card, and this is on the inside of the card. So we're going to take the basic white next, the 4 1/4 by 8 1/2, scored at 4 1/4, and this is going to be a little card that's going to go on the inside, and it is going to go right here. So we have kind of the, like a little alligator. It's eating eating the alligator. Both open sides are going to line up with the boho blue and where the window is. So we are going to take a pencil, and you know, this is going to drive me crazy. There's just like a little bit of white here. I'm going to take my paper trimmer and just give that just a little slice. Sometimes cardstock is just like not always exactly 8 1/2 or 11 inches. So I'm just going to trim that. This should be just enough to have it line up and not show. Perfect. All right, so I'm going to line up those open ends, and I'm going to take a pencil, and I am going to trace the window so that I know where to punch through the white layer. Now, the basic white cardstock is a lighter weight than the colored cardstock, and so I am going to punch through both layers at one time. If you have trouble doing this, you could use your pencil and punch through one layer and then bring the other layer in and trace and punch again. But I usually can do 2 layers of the basic white without any problem with the punch. By the way, I'm using the 2-inch circle punch, one of my favorite punches. There are 3 circle punches right now, 1 3/4, 2 inches, and 2 3/8 inch. And the 2 inch is definitely probably the one I use the most. All right, so we've got our windows going on, and before we start putting this card together, we want to do our stamping. So I'm going to bring in the boho glue ink, and I'm going to stamp some clouds. There are 3 different clouds, and we're going to stamp them both on the front of the card and on the inside of the card. And so let me grab my grid paper. And I don't know that I necessarily need it. I was going to say I'm going to go off the edges, but maybe not. For the inside, I'm going to add the big cloud down here, and then also again in the top center, and add some of the smaller clouds. I'm going to do one more little cloud over here because that makes an odd number, and then Mom will be happy. On the front of the card, I am going to do 3 clouds, and I was struggling with this earlier because the big one ended up just being too big when I did my sample card, because the plain kind of covers it up. So I'm going to stick with the smaller ones and do 3 clouds like that. We're going to do some other things on here. All right, while we are stamping, should we do our sentiments? Well, yeah, let's do some more stamping. We are going to have to stamp on something after we put it together, but we can do some of these. So I'm going to do next the airplane, and I'm using Night of Navy for the airplane. And this is the large airplane stamp. And so Night of Navy on that, and then I'm going to die cut it with the coordinating Adventurous Sky die. And on the front of the card, I'm using a 3/4 inch strip to stamp You're the Best, plain and simple. All right, we'll have to do a little more stamping for the inside, but that'll have to wait until after we put it together. So let's bring out some of these colored pencils. Our colored pencils, we have 2 different assortments. There is assortment 1 and assortment 2, and I have some older ones, so I don't know if they're exactly the same colors. Like Pacific Point and Bermuda Bay are no longer colors. So I think there's a different kind of assortment for some of these, but you can find these in the catalog. Assortment 1 and assortment 2, you can find them back here on page 119. This page spread talks about different watercolor techniques. And so there is the pencils right here in the center, and it talks about how you can use the blender pens to blend those, or you can just color directly with the pencils. So I love that. You don't even need water. Today I'm going to skip the blender pens though, and I'm just going to go right into coloring. And normally you would color and then you would add the blender pens to blend, but I'm just going to kind of get this sketchy look with the colored pencils. So I'm using Cajun Craze because we don't have a copper clay, but I wanted to bring in some of that rust color. It's the same color used in the designer paper, and I think it goes well with the blues. I often get my color inspiration from our designer paper. They've already done the hard part of coming up with those coordinating colors, and so I can just go ahead and follow right along. So I'm coloring the plane, the body of the plane with the Cajun Craze, adding some darker highlights here, and then I'm going to come in with I don't have smoky slate, so I'm using basic gray, and I'm just coloring very lightly for a light gray. So we've got the wings of the plane here in smoky slate, and then I also have some of Night of Navy, and I thought I would come in and add some color to the wheels and the center of the propeller here, and just bring in a touch of that Night of Navy. And this color inspiration, like I said, came right from the designer paper. It might be a little creative license in the coloring here, but just adding a little bit of color there. to the airplane. So nice and sketchy color for our sketchy airplane image. This is going to be for the front of the card, but we're going to bring the colored pencil back in again for the inside. I love this little tip from Marissa from her demonstration, so I'll show you that in a minute. But let's focus now on putting our card together. So we're going to take this white piece, the basic white piece, and I'm going to fold it in half. So this is like a normal card with the opening on the right side. And I'm going to take and I'm going to just really put lots of adhesive on the front here. And this is going to adhere to the back side of the boho blue. So I'm going to line up those windows and line up those edges so that I have a white card that's stuck to the end of the boho blue. So that is the front part, and this is going to flip. So I talked about that peekaboo flip. So we flip open here, but we need a back side of the card because right now it's just kind of naked back there. So here's where we have our 4 1/4 by 5 3/4 inch piece, and it has just a skinny little flap here that is 1/4 inch wide. And I specifically put my bone folder nearby so that I could grab it. There it is. I'm just going to give it a nice good crease here. Now, you can use any kind of adhesive to adhere this. Liquid glue, I think, is a good option. I always make such a mess with it though. So I'm going to use a little bit of tear and tape. And because it's such a skinny little strip, I am just going to cut, I'm going to cut the tear and tape lengthwise and just cut it down a little bit so that it is not going to hang over the edge at all. Okay. Oh, that is such a skinny, skinny little bit. Let's just, usually not so messy. All right, we're going to take the adhesive off. And now this part, this little flap is going to adhere to the white, the back of the white card. So it kind of looks funny. We're folding that in and we're adhering it here. So it's going to be the back of the card, but we don't want to have any adhesive anywhere else because we don't want to interrupt the function of the flipping. So it's a little bit tricky. I'm going to try to lay it flat and then just line up the edge. I should have checked this ahead of time. My white in the back is like, it doesn't line up exactly. It was a little bit short, but that's okay. If we have extra here, we can just trim that little hangover. Okay, so if that made sense, this is how we adhered that back piece to the back of the white, and then it flips over. So now we have the back of the card, the front of the card, and when you open it, you have the piece from the front that slides into the window. And so this is really just decorative to cover up what's back there. And you open the front like you normally would open, and it flips like this. Peekaboo flip card. So fun. Okay, so on the inside, when the card is open, we want to add this piece of designer paper. I want to just add a little stamping, and so I'm going to add this little grid, this little map, and I'm trying to limit my colors here just so I'm not using like every single color. So I decided to use some Night of Navy over the top of this designer paper just to add a little image here. And so I'm going to add this with regular adhesive, and it is going to adhere to the back side of the card. I guess we do need that back. It's not just decorative. I'm going to put this in the window like this, just turn it over, and then I can fold the card and put that circle down. Now, I did use a circle that was 2 3/8 inch instead of 2 inches, a little bit bigger to make sure that it completely covered that window. So now from the front, I have that design. Actually, hold on. I wish that design was just a little straighter. So I'm going to just rotate that and it still lines up. Okay. There we go. There we go. I did my tear apart. I did my part. We're almost done. This card is looking so good. For the front of the card, we're going to have our airplane on some Stampin' Dimensionals. And then I have some strips of designer paper that are going to accent our greeting. And so I'm going to, let's get this plane on here. Let's finish our thought. Some Stampin' Dimensionals on the airplane, and then that's going to go here. And then for our strips of paper, I'm going to just add a little bit of an angle to each of them. And these two are both 3/4 of an inch wide, and this one is a 1/2 inch wide. I wanted to just bring in some of that copper clay since I used it in the airplane. I always try to use my colors several times to tie the card together. So I'm going to do some regular, that one's over, some regular adhesive on the strips of paper, kind of angling there, and then I can just cut off the edges. And then for the sentiment, I'm going to add some of our linen thread. I'm going to do some loop-de-loops behind the sentiment just to bring in. I was hesitant about using the those industrial trinkets because I just felt like they were a little bulky and a little big. And so I wanted to embellish with some of the linen thread instead. So I'm just going to do some loops back here. Oh, that's perfect. And then we're going to add that with some Stampin' Dimensionals. You're the best, plain and simple. So here's the front of the card, and when we open it up, we have the inside, but we need to add something here, right? So I am going to do a little stamping here on the flip part. So this is that little flap right there. And this is a little scary. I'm gonna try it, and I'm gonna show you what you can do if you mess it up. Not that I would know from experience. No, I'm just kidding. Of course I do. I'm always messing things up and starting over. I want to stamp Happy Father's Day and the little airplane in here. But if you mess it up, it's part of the card, so you can always cover it up with the blue circle that you punch from the front, which is what I did on my first card. So we're gonna attempt to do the stamping and get it straight, and then if we don't, we have our backup. So this stamp was tricky because I put the label on it and it's just a little bit crooked. And so what I do in these cases is I try to make sure that the stamp is on the block straight. So instead of looking at the label, I'm going to be looking at the straight edge of the block. So I got Happiest Father's Day. I'm going to put this here in the corner. And it looks like it's crooked, but the block is straight, and so we are good to go there. Then I'm going to bring in the boho blue and stamp our little airplane. And again, this is tight. I'm going to stamp the little airplane. Woo! And here's Marissa's little trick. I just loved this. She used the white colored pencil to color in the airplane on the dark cardstock, and I just thought that was so clever, and I thought it really just popped nicely. So I'm just going to add a little bit of color to the airplane with a white colored pencil, and if you wanted to, you could add, you know, other colors, but I just really liked the white. I thought that kind of popped against the blue. So here's the front of the card. You're the best, plain and simple. And the Peekaboo flip, when you open it, says Happiest Father's Day. A little bit of room to write your message here. Of course, there are lots of different sentiments in the Adventurous Skies stamp set. We've got You Always Lift Me Up, Flying By to Say Hi, and Happy Birthday. So if you are not celebrating Father's Day with cards, you have lots of other options to create this amazing card. Plus, of course, you can make it with any stamp set and designer paper. Oh my goodness. I hope that you enjoyed the Peekaboo flip card and that you'll give this one a try at home. I'm going to flip the camera around one more time before we switch over to Mom's video to see what she has created with the Take to the Sky suite. Here is my finished Peekaboo flip card. This was so much fun and not as hard as it looks, I hope. Whether you have the Take to the Sky suite or any other products at home, I hope that you'll give this project a try. Don't forget about Stampin' Up's free shipping offer on Tuesday, May 21st. You can shop online at juliedavison.com/shop and get free shipping on orders over $75 this Tuesday, May 21st, 2024. If you enjoyed today's video, please give it a thumbs up and make sure that you subscribe to my channel so that you don't miss out on future card making videos. Now it is time to head over to Mom's channel to see part 2 of Sunday Stamping with Susan and Julie to see what she has created with the Take to the Sky suite. I look forward to participating in the chat with you over there, so I'll see you soon. Have a great week. Bye.